Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to another Gord's Poetry Show. Number 6, I believe. But am I counting? Well, I've been known to make mistakes before, but keep your fingers crossed, I'm right this time. June the 3rd, 2012. Just in case anyone's really looking closely. Day after quite a storm we had here in southern Ontario. Much rain, much gusty wind. And it seems to be mostly over at this point. It's time to tidy up the garden and the front path and the sidewalk and everything that seems to have fallen over in the interim, which for me was quite a bit. But that's all done now, I hope. Hope I haven't missed anything. Now, Ralph Gustafson, well-known Canadian poet in his day, and somewhat neglected, I fear, since his passing a couple of decades ago. But that's the fate of all but the most famous of our poets. They tend to slip from memory. This is from his 1960 book, Rivers Among Rocks, and a poem called Dr. Johnson Kicks Hawking's Shin. I get part of the references, but not all of them. Perhaps you do. Reality is the expression of it, thought of as an innocence, a pure pervasion. Music is a truth, but only in the hunger and the hearing real, though ears, an episode of slapstick, are matters for some ridicule. Tonight, between the fall of dark and the founding of the stars you play, and all the imperfection made by double drum and anvil in my pate. Time, the piano's sloven mathematics, is a passion. Unheard music is not sweeter. Reality is imperfection. Genesis must know temptation, or he cannot help himself. Is it not so? Can he laugh? Does the whirlwind condescend to thistle, or the worm to love? This planet postulates its pun, God's becoming. The moment's made. The choice within that modulation was the music, not the A, that B, singly, of sublime indifference. Without your hands that move the hour, the hammer's action on the string, he sits beyond the pearly gates and twiddles thumbs. Well, thumb twiddling it may be. Now, another mid-century Canadian poet, Dorothy Livesay. Her 1944 Governor General's award-winning book, Day and Night, has been re-released by Ulucan. And in it, I have discovered an homage to Federico Garcia Lorca, of whom we have spoken much on this show. This poem seems to have been written in 1939, 3 years after Lorca's untimely death by, well, let's face it, he was assassinated. Can't have those artists hanging around when we're having a revolution, can we? They might criticize us. Lorca. When veins congeal and gesture is confounded, when pucker frowns no more, and voice's door is shut forever. On such a night my bed will shrink to single size, sheets go cold, the heart hammer with life-loud clamour, while someone covers up the eyes. Ears are given to hear the silence driven in, nailed down, and we descend now down from heaven into earth's mould, down. While you hold the light unbroken. When you lived, day shone from your face. Now the sun rays search and find no answering torch. Lorca, if you were living now, this cliffside tree and its embracing bough would speak to me. If you were speaking now, the waves below would be organ stops for breath to blow. And if your rigid head flung back its hair, gulls in a sickle flight would circle there. You make the flight unbroken. You are alive, O grass flash emerald sight, dash of dog fur ball, and skipping rope's bright blink, lashing the light. High in cloud, the sunset's fruits are basketed, and fountains curl their plumes on statue stone. In secret thicket mould, lovers defend their hold. Old couples hearing whisperings, touch in a hand clasp, quivering. Lorca, for you sang out aloud, arching the silent wood to stretch itself, tiptoe above the crowd. You hold the word unspoken. You breathe, you be, bare, stripped light, time's fragment flagged against the dark. You dance, explode unchallenged through the door as bullets burst long deaths ago. Your breast and song outsoars the bomber's rage, serene with wind, maneuvered cloud. Light flight and word, the unassailed, the token. Thank you, Dorothy. Now, from Dorothy Livesay to P.K. Page, whose fine attempts at glossas I read before, and I have since discovered another volume of glossas called Coal and Roses. And let me just remind you that from the text here, the glossa form opens with a quatrain borrowed from another poet. That is then followed by 4 10-line stanzas terminating with the lines of the initial passage in consecutive order. The 6th and 9th lines rhyme with the borrowed 10th. Glossas were popular in the 14th and early 15th centuries among poets attached to the Spanish court. And of course, what did I find in here but a glossa on a poem by Lorca? Apparently one of his more famous poems, the Gypsy Ballad, from the collection The Gypsy Ballads, 1928. And it's called the Somnambule Ballad. And P.K. Page has constructed a lovely glossa around it, which she calls Green. How much I want you green. And the quatrain is, green, how much I want you green. Great stars of white frost, come with the fish of darkness that opens the road of dawn. And that translation is by Stephen Spender and G.L. Gilly. Landscape of crystals, rock salt and icebergs, white trees, white grasses, hills forged from pale metals, padlock and freeze me in the Pleistocene. See my skin wither, heart become brittle, cast as the snow queen. Green, how much I want you green. Green oak, green ilex, green weeping willow, green grass and green clover, all my lost youth. Come before springtime, before the brown locusts, come like the rain that blows in the night and melts to fine dust. Great stars of white frost. Water, sweet water, chortling, running the chinooks of my childhood. Warm wind, the ripple of icicles dripping from my frozen palace. How sweet the water, moonstones and vodka, poured from a chalice, with the fish of darkness. Come water, come springtime, come my green lover with a whistle of grass to call me to clover. A key for my lock, small flowers for my crown. The ice age is over. Green moss and green lichen will paint a green lawn that opens the road of dawn. Well, much more recent poet, Suzanne Buffam, from her Griffin Poetry Prize shortlisted book, The Irrationalist. There's a section of rather amusing short poems called Little Commentaries, from which I shall read. She prefaces it by a quote by Nicholas Copernicus, someone I think whose name you'll recognize. And the quote is, "There is no one center of the universe." On necessity. As a young man, Galileo understood very well the workings of the pendulum, but not until he was an old man approaching the hour of his death did he devise the pendulum clock. On attachment. A house burns all night in the middle of a field. A beautiful sight, even if the burning house does happen to be mine. Sooner or later, all burning houses will be mine. On the fire sermon. A quote there. Burning, 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 quotes T.S. Eliot. A man so framed for his chilly demeanor, not even his pipe seemed to give off smoke. On valleys. To be a valley, find a hill and lie down at its feet. On clouds. To be a cloud, find a hill and swallow it. On moonlight. Moonlight film fills the bathroom sink. If a person could drink from it, she would be her own ghost. On ghosts versus zombies. Soul without a body or body without a soul? Like choosing between an empty lake and the same empty lake. On negative capability. A man and a woman side by side, not speaking. Not speaking. Cross a moonlit plaza without plans. On dining in Paris. Take small bites. Chew your food before swallowing. Do not expect the waiter to congratulate you. On quandariness. Oh, that's a good one. I do not know which to prefer, the beauty of Nova Scotia or the beauty of France. Ducks landing on the salt marsh or poached in their fat on my plate. On drinking in Paris, greet the new Beaujolais with a mixture of fondness and disdain, like a childhood friend from the provinces, or yet another Oscar-winning picture starring Gérard Depardieu. On could, there is no cake in the oven, alas, but a small bit of effort could put one there. On Borges, Jean-Louis, put one dream inside another. Let's go flying backwards in time, a little farther than before, to D.H.Lawrence's selected poems. Brooding grief. A yellow leaf from the darkness hops like a frog before me. Why should I start and stand still? I was watching the woman that bore me, stretched in the brindled darkness of the sick room, rigid with will to die, and the quick leaf tore me back to this rainy swill of leaves and lamps, and the city street mingled before me. Forwards through time to the much quoted and read from Global Poetry Anthology, and another poem by the fine Canadian poet Gary Geddes. And fine and still very much with us. Thanks be to God. Keep writing them good, Gary. Now, little quote in the title here. See if you can catch it. At swim 3 words. As my mother lay dying in a dark, cold room where plumbing and ductwork were visible overhead and cracks in cement walls sprouted spider webs and dust, I recalled the flume that carried us pell-mell down, risible in the extreme, at the exhibition grounds in Vancouver, her mouth wide, kerchief blown back, her body language quizzical, as if laughter were verboten, out of bounds, a thing unexpected, a joker outed sans warning. When I stood by the bed, my small hand clasped in hers, I had grounds to wonder if she would die. Though I doubted this, of course, thinking only of myself, my needs, days at the beach in English Bay or Kitsilano, where I tossed sand, flouted authority, sun-baked bodies, the air reeking of seaweed, mustard, hot dogs. Some days I feel her speaking through me, the few remaining strands of damp brown hair at 6s and 7s across her forehead, lips pursed, facial muscles contracted in a worry, ethics, cliches, beliefs, each a clipped, forced whisper with its dread finality. Resolute, I played the elf, doing the dog paddle across the frayed linoleum, trying to make her laugh. A tad of whimsy on the back shelf would suffice. She rallied briefly, half alert, pulled across into a sitting position, the skin slack around her neck, eyes closed from the effort. Grimace or laugh, I know not, but she who swam kilometers from Fisher's Cove to Point Atkinson managed a thin smile, patted my head and traced on my body the necessary letters. I have discovered another translation, book of translations of Stephane Mallarme, read from one before. This is a more recent one by Daisy Aldan, and it's titled To Purify the Words of the Tribe. And that she does. It's a lovely large volume from which I will be reading more, let me tell you. But today we'll read one called Another Fan of Mademoiselle Mallarme. O dreamer, that I may plunge into pure pathless delight, learn by subtle illusion how to guard my wing in your hand. A twilight coolness is wafted toward you with every wing beat, whose prisoned stroke daintily pushes the horizon back. Vertigo! See how space trembles like an intense kiss, which, mad to be born in vain, can neither spring forth nor be still. Do ye feel paradise fierce as buried laughter flow from the corner of your mouth down the unanimous fold? The sceptre of rose-hued shores, stagnant on evenings of gold, is this white furled flight you pose against the fire of a bracelet. Aye. Well, you'll all know James Joyce from his infinitely brilliant novels, but he did write a couple of very short books of lyrics, which I have loved since discovering them many, many years ago. One of the books is called Poems, Penny Each. And from this I will read On the Beach at Fontana. Wind whines and whines the shingle, the crazy pier stakes groan, a senile sea numbers each single slime-silvered stone. From the whining wind and colder grey sea I wrap him warm and touch his trembling fine-boned shoulder and boyish arm. Around us fear, descending darkness of fear above, and in my heart how deep unending ache of love. A flower given to my daughter. Frail the white rose, and frail are her hands that give, whose soul is sear and paler than time's wan wave. Rose frail and fair, yet frailest a wonder wild, in gentle eyes thou veilest my blue-veined child. Philip Larkin, The Whitsun Weddings, 1964, one of my favorites. A short one called Days. What are days for? Days are where we live. They come, they wake us time and time over. They are to be happy in. Where can we live but days? Ah, solving that question brings the priest and the doctor in their long coats, running over the fields. Water. If I were called in to construct a religion, I should make use of water. Going to church would entail affording to dry different clothes. My liturgy would employ images of sousing, a furious devout drench, and I should raise in the east a glass of water, where any angled light would congregate endlessly. Congregate endlessly. Light congregating endlessly. Oh yes, I do like that. And let us, as our favored poems, crisscrossing across time and space, let us continue to congregate endlessly together in our love of literature. Until next time, friends, so long. Farewell. Au revoir.